Sheila McCoy and Fred McCoy behind the camera. We're in Liberty, Kentucky at our Hatfield McCoy Museum. You can look us up on hatfieldsmccoysmuseum.com or our YouTube channel that we've started, which is Hatfield McCoy Museum Adventures. Okay. Today we're going to talk about how people have contacted us over the years to see if we're interested in some of the things that they say that is related to the Hatfield and McCoy feud. One of the things that we got that is really good is a gun that was one of the guns that had killed Jim Vance. The gun belongs to Lark McCoy here is holding it in his hand. Right here, you can see it there. It kind of blends in there a little bit.
And that's Jacob McCoy.
Jacob, and then
that's
Bud
Lark's brother, and then here's Bud on the end. Bud is Asa Harmon Jr., and he's the one that actually shot Jim Vance with the gun. There was actually 3 people that shot Jim Vance during this time. Well, at least 3. That was Frank Phillips, Jim McCoy, Randall McCoy's oldest son, and Bud McCoy. And so who killed him? Without a doubt, Frank Phillips delivered several death shots. They even say that Lark had got a shot or 2 in on him. So I have a feeling that he was like a pincushion before it's over with. But anyway, I'm sorry, Sheila.
No, you're fine. This is what we do. We both talk. Okay. We had got the gun from this gentleman here, and I forget his name. William Wolford. His mother's name was Cora.
And his grandmother's name.
Oh, his grandmother. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. And Cora was actually the daughter of Jacob McCoy, and Jacob's daughter Cora married a David Wolford, and David and Cora had Homer, and Homer had Wilm, and Wilm had a son named Wilm Jr. And we actually got the gun from Wilm Jr.
Yep.
Over the years, I'm going to take some of what she's going to tell you probably, but
no,
over the years, a lot of people have contacted us by just Googling Hatfield McCoy Museum, and they get our address or phone number, and they contact us because somebody in their family has passed away.
Right.
And their grandpa, grandma, their great-grandparents, somebody has passed away, and they've got some kind of an item that was either Hatfield McCoy feud related or Hatfield and McCoy, and of course that's what we collect. So they call us, and over the years we've got the reputation of treating people more fairly than anybody else and giving them what they're
a fair price.
A fair price. Thank you, Sheila. And that's what we try to do in order to put the exhibit into our museum. Here is where we run the serial number on this gun. And this gun was shipped May the 18th, 1886, and order number was 6602. And so that's when Jacob McCoy would have received it sometime in 1886. And the feud, of course, was well going on at that time. That was 3 years after the Election Day stabbing and shooting of Ellis and Hatfield, and it was 2 years before Devil Ance's group set fire to the Randall McCoy's cabin. Now, I saw on a website a while back, where a Facebook page, where somebody said, why didn't any of Asa Harmon McCoy's, this is Asa Harmon McCoy here, this was the first McCoy killed in the feud, and that was in 1865.
Yeah.
He was sent home in December of 1864 from having a gunshot wound to the hip or the leg, something like that. he returned home, and of course he was a Union soldier. Now, we've heard Altina Waller. I heard her on the History Channel. She's a so-called author of Hatfield McCoy books. And I heard her on the History Channel one time giggle and laugh, and she said that Asa Harmon was a traitor. Nobody liked him, his Randall, or none of his family, because he was a traitor, and he joined the Union while the rest of them joined the Confederacy. And that's just not so. This lady has a PhD. Okay, I won't go there, but she certainly didn't do any research. In fact, she stated later on in her book, when they questioned her about it, she said that she copied a lot of her material from Otis Rice. Well, when you do a book, you should do your own research. That's what's happened over the years. People's copied from one author to another just to say that they've wrote a book. And the more times something is written, it seems like the more people believe it, I guess. They take it for the truth, but that's not necessarily true. Kentucky and West Virginia were border states. They were on the border of the Civil War.
Right.
So a lot of the people went different ways.
Sure.
Some Confederate, some Union. Not only was, in fact, Kentucky, contrary to what Altina says, that Asa was the only one that was a Union soldier or joined the Union. She's incorrect, because my great-great-grandfather, Preacher Ance Hatfield, the cousin to Devil Ance, was actually a Union soldier along with Asa. So it wasn't that Confederates or the Union were traitors. They were fighting for what they believed in. Babe, let me let you
They
have
have
I'm probably
different
talking
beliefs.
so loud and me right there against that camera.
Well,
I'm used to her being on the other side of the
Yeah.
camera, and I talk loud, but I'll bet you I'm too loud on that.
Sorry, but yeah, sorry for that if he is.
They so they wasn't traitors. Asa just happened to believe in the Union, and Randall and Devil Ance fought for the Confederacy. Some people didn't know what they were fighting for. They just went and joined it with their neighbors.
It's kind of like today, kind of. It's like an illustration I'm trying to say.
Go ahead.
Some family members are Democrats.
Oh, yeah.
Some are Republicans.
Sure, and that's the way this was. That's what you had here. But you know, the Civil War had a whole lot more to do, and we may have talked about this in another video. If we haven't, we were going to, but some things we may repeat in these videos, I don't know. But the Civil War, people want to act like it's all about slavery, and that's not true at all. Asa Harmon actually owned a slave, Pete, and in fact, that was his demise. Pete was treated like a member of his family. You can call them slaves if you want to. Some of these people treated these people like members of their family.
Yeah.
And they did Pete. In fact, Pete, when Asa returned home from the war, injured, he knew he couldn't fight, and he didn't want to stay at his cabin. The West Virginia Hatfields had a habit, the Logan Wildcats, of setting fire to people's cabin and property. They'd burn their outhouses, they would burn their barns, take their livestock, their whatever they had. And that's how they were eating so good, prospering and doing so good, because they were stealing from the other ones. But
he was hiding out to protect his family. He was resting up in a cave.
Thank you. He didn't want to stay at home.
Right.
Afraid that Devil Ance and Jim Vance would set fire to his cabin and hurt his family. So he went to a cave up behind Blackberry Grade School there. It's a coal bank, and that's where he was at. You'll see a video later on of the coal bank, and us doing some research and stuff in there, and metal detectors.
Yeah.
But that's where he went and hid. And Pete, his slave, was bringing his breakfast to him one morning, January the 6th, I think it was, of 1865. Remember, he returned home December the 24th, something like that, of 64. So he'd only been home for a couple of weeks. And Devil Anse Hatfield and Jim Vance followed him through the snow, his footprints, and seen where Pete took his breakfast to. And when he came out of the cave to take a leak later on in the afternoon, he was standing there in front of the cave peeing, and they shot and killed him, the Logan Wildcats. Mm-hmm. Now, we'll see a story later on where it says about being charged with murder, and they never did charge Devil Anse with murder, and they did this, he wasn't there, and we'll discuss all that. I'm getting off topic because right now we're covering this gun.
Yeah.
Sheila
That's
gets
all
on.
right.
She gets on, but this stuff strays into each other, but
It spider webs out.
we'll do a video on that. Now, going back to this, that is Lark McCoy in the middle there holding this rifle at port arms. That's hit the barrel right here. His hand is around the barrel, and here comes the gun down through there.
Yep.
He is actually holding Jacob McCoy's gun that he ordered from Winchester in 1886. Jacob couldn't go with the posse after they burnt Randall McCoy's cabin on January the 1st of 88. Mm-hmm. They took off. The people from Kentucky really got involved. They didn't like what happened to Randall's wife and two more of his children.
Right.
So these posses were spread out all over West Virginia looking for Devil Anse and his people.
Okay.
Jacob couldn't go that day, and Bud McCoy, Asa Harmon Jr., borrowed this rifle from Jacob. He joined the posse along with Lark and the rest of them, and they ran up on Cap Hatfield and Jim Vance.
Yep.
They ran up on them in the woods, and they started shooting back at each other. They had Frank Phillips with them. Frank Phillips at that time was what you would call a Kentucky State Trooper today. He's a state police officer. The governor had given him statewide authority. Simon Buckner had statewide authority to arrest the Hatfields, and they had warrants. Now, at this time, the extradition thing had been before the Supreme Court. They ruled that you couldn't go over there as a police officer and bring them back. You had to extradite them. But remember, that was the whole reason of burning the cabin, is because Simon Buckner had sent a governor's warrant to West Virginia governor saying, we want these guys extradited to Kentucky, meaning Devil Anse and his group. Mm-hmm. The governor didn't extradite them. He just sent his messenger, his secretary, to Logan and told Devil Anse, they're wanting to extradite you over there. We don't know how long we can hold them off. Devil Anse sends his men out and says, hey, let's kill them all. We got to kill the witnesses. Another story altogether.
Yep.
But on this day, they hollered out, you're under arrest. They started shooting. They wounded Jim Vance. Cap ran. Mm-hmm. Cap took off running. Jim's shooting as much as he can, holding them off, and Cap left. They finally shoot Jim or kill him at that point. If they didn't kill him then, there's 2 or 3 stories. I wasn't there, so I can't tell you. But we know that Jim Vance ended up dead that day. We know that there's stories about what Frank Phillips, Bad Frank. Bad Frank didn't get his nickname from being a Sunday school teacher. We all know that. Crazy Jim Vance didn't get his nickname from being the most intelligent or the most sensible thinker in the group. So we think their nicknames speaks volumes for them.
Right.
So they go up there to the tree, and several of them shot Jim Vance, whether they shot him from out in the woods or they shot him point blank. Some of these guys were angry. Frank Phillips had came to the cabin the next day, and he saw I'm sorry?
The massacre?
He saw the massacre. He saw the children
Right.
On the ground.
Alifair and Calvin.
Exactly. Alifair and Calvin. And they said it really took an effect on him for the way that family had been treated. So I don't think there's any doubt that anybody could think that Frank Phillips didn't avenge their deaths or try to in a way. Lark McCoy, a lot of people's asked, why didn't Asa Harmon's children avenge his death? Well, when they killed Asa Harmon in 1865, Lark McCoy was 12 years old. He was the oldest son at the time. I think Bud or Jacob was 9. So, at the end of the day, Lark McCoy and at least Bud McCoy avenged their father's death. I have no doubt that they didn't both put a bullet,
right.
Whether it was the death bullet, who knows? But we do know that this gun was used on that posse by Bud McCoy on that day, there's Jim's tombstone, and he was killed January the 8th, 1888, 8 days after they burnt the cabin down. They got Jim Vance. So that's going to conclude this video for now. Sheila, am I leaving anything?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and
hit that bell.
as Tatum says.
Thank you, guys.